Hello? Sorry to bother you, but I wanted to apologize for everything I may have done yesterday to upset you. She just looked at me and continued working. Finally, she turned around. Listen, I have a lot to do right now. I have to clean up the mess my husband left behind and then find some way to move on with my life. I just don't have time to listen to whining right now. Can I help with anything? Are you serious? Yes, I have time, and I wouldn't mind helping. Okay, grab a handful of these trash bags and follow me. We entered the house and went upstairs to the master bedroom. This is Clay's closet, and this is his chest of drawers. Take everything out of them and put it in bags. When you're done, you can take them to Goodwill. Can you handle this? Certainly. Can the boys help? Josh and Terry, this is Mr. Powers. Help him put Daddy's things into bags so we can get rid of them. Fine? The boys shook my hand. Josh was about 8 years old, and Terry was 6. These were two great-looking kids that I would give anything for. It took less than an hour, and the guys and I were dragging bags of clothes and shoes to the Hummer. I took the center and returned home. So, what now? It's okay, Mr. Powers. You don't need to do anything else. You shouldn't feel obligated just because of what your wife did. Do you know exactly what they did, or is it just a guess? A little bit of both, but I don't want to talk about it in front of the boys. Could we discuss this later? Come tomorrow. I need to clean out the basement and garage. If you don't mind working while we talk, the boys have a meeting with school friends. Sounds good, but I'll miss the guys. When I left, I felt a little better. I felt bad for killing Emily's husband, but I think he deserved it. I think Emily felt the same way. I had no idea what to do with Donna. I don't know why she resisted the divorce. When I got home, my wife was making chili. I decided to try to get her to open up a little before we sat down at the table. Donna, in light of what's happened over the last few days, wouldn't it be best for us to think about separating? No, not at all. I think it's pretty clear now that you and Clayton were having an affair. I guess you were unhappy with our union. Would you like to try to explain this to me? I don't have much to say, Brian. After spending some time with Clay, both at work and otherwise, I realized that your idea of our future together did not match what I was looking for. You imagined me as a domestic goddess, bearing children left and right, but I wanted something more. I was hesitant to discuss this with you because I never wanted to say or do anything that would make you unhappy. Clay had the same problem with Emily. She wanted what you wanted, and I wanted what Clay wanted. We ended up comforting each other, and then the sex started. He wasn't better than you, just different. Doesn't divorce seem appropriate now? In no case. I'm not going to give up my home and all the comforts of marriage just because we disagree. I intend to stay here. You can't kick me out because I didn't do anything to justify it. I don't think you'll leave, so we'll just have to get used to living in the same house, together, and acting like a married couple. Sit down and eat. There was no conversation at dinner. I swallowed 2 portions because I found the sauce especially hot. About 2 hours later, I started having stomach pains. I made several trips to the bathroom and finally started vomiting. I noticed that there was some blood in the bowl. Donna, I feel very bad. Can you take me to the emergency room? Hell no, the Desperate Housewives series is just around the corner. If your stomach hurts, take Tums. It's more than a stomach ache, Donna. Let's. Please. Go yourself. You behave childish. I grabbed the keys and went to the car. My neighbor was taking out the trash and asked me what happened. I explained, and he took me to the emergency room. The next thing I remember is waking up and looking at the sun coming through the window. I turned to look the other way and saw Detective Green reading a magazine. Good afternoon, Mr. Powers. I thought you'd sleep all day. What the hell are you doing here? What happened and what time is it? Hello, guy. I'm the one who asks questions. Calm down. Okay, sorry if I'm a little worried. Understandable given the circumstances. Brian, I think you got some bad chili last night. Luckily, your neighbor got you here on time. They had to pump you out and give you a bunch of weird drugs that I can't pronounce. What the hell was that? They gave me a fancy name, but it was basically rat poison. That's a bitch. What did she say? Well, she gave us some leftover chili and everything was fine. She claims she has no idea where the poison might have come from. She ate the same food as you and was fine. We searched the house and garage and found nothing. So what are you gonna do? Nothing yet. About this time, the doctor came in with a nurse. He checked a bunch of things while the nurse took another blood sample. He said I could go home when I was ready and gave me a paper with a list of some bland food. I borrowed Detective Green's phone number and called Emily to apologize for not coming to her aid. Felix took the phone. Why does your wife want to kill you, Mr. Powers? I don't know. Why did she kill Clayton Mankey? Do you know that for sure? No, but she was on Rainbow Mountain and was the last person to see him alive. Come on, Brian. I'll take you home. Donna was in tears when we got home and apologized over and over again for not being more responsive to my problem. I walked into the spare room and closed the door behind me. After that, I didn't eat at home anymore. The next day, I told Marge that I would be on sick leave and asked her to try to find me an apartment. Somehow she found out what happened. I waited until Donna left for work and then started packing some things so I could move out quickly if necessary. I was a little upset that the police couldn't do anything about the poisoning. After grabbing a quick breakfast at IHOP, I stopped by Emily's place. The boys were at school. Emily was more upset about what happened than Donna. I promised her that I would return later when I had settled some personal matters. Donna didn't want a divorce, but she wanted me dead. This meant one of two things: revenge or money. I stopped to see my insurance agent. It was probably stupid, but soon after we got married, I took out a $1 million life insurance policy with Donna as the beneficiary. The payouts were high and cash already exceeded $16,000. I cashed them out. I went to work and canceled the health and dental insurance I had for Donna. I changed the beneficiary of my company's insurance policies to my mother. Marge was glad to see me and offered any help she could. The bank manager told me that Donna had already cleared out the balance of the house fund, about $12,000. I explained the situation to him and he agreed to arrange everything so that he could close the credit cards. I opened a new account and signed a bunch of papers for it. I turned towards the house. Donna was there, dressed in her bird clothes. We were polite to each other, but not too hot. She said she was going up Rainbow Mountain to do some bird watching and relax. It seemed to me that I was being set up, but I decided to play along. Soon after she left, I was already riding a motorcycle. Her car was parked in the upper parking lot next to a gray Ford Ranger. I quickly circled the mountain and headed towards the lower section. Her mountain bike was chained to a tree on the side of the road. Donna was standing behind a rock ledge talking to a guy who was carrying a small shotgun. It was a pistol with a pistol grip instead of a butt. While I watched, she handed him a photograph and a business-size envelope. He looked at the photograph carefully, then opened the envelope and counted the large sum of money. They shook hands, and Donna quickly walked straight towards me. I quickly ducked behind a small ledge and silently waited for her to pass. The man she was talking to squatted behind some rocks to watch the trail leading from the parking lot. He was waiting, and I was quite sure what exactly. Donna expected me to follow her and assumed that I would come from the lot where she had parked the car. It was faster to go down the path than to go up. When I went downstairs, I saw that her bike had disappeared. I went up to the top parking lot. The Ford was unlocked. There was a tracksuit on the front seat. I took out the registration card from the glove compartment, a pack of matches from the center console, and sweatpants. I twisted them as tight as I could and dropped them into the gas tank, lit the end, and got out of there as fast as I could. Halfway down, I heard an explosion. I hope she gave him enough money to cover it. I may have broken a few traffic rules on my way home, but I had to take the back roads to avoid running into Donna. After parking the bike behind the garage, I took out the fertilizer spreader and started pushing it back and forth across the lawn. A few minutes later, my wife came outside and saw me. A disappointed expression appeared on her face. Then her cell phone rang. She turned away, answering the call. I couldn't make out the conversation, but it seemed to me that the person on the other end of the line was excited about something. Brian, I left the Volvo in the mountains and decided to warm up a little by cycling home. I know this sounds stupid, but could you give me a ride back to pick up the car? She didn't say anything on the way to pick up the car. She played with her fingers in her lap. She was clearly worried about something. As we approached the mountain road, we saw a group of fire engines climbing to the top. We were about halfway up when a policeman stopped us. "I'm really sorry, guys, but there was an accident at the top of the mountain. The truck caught fire. We can't let anyone in there now. My wife's car is parked there. Can we come and get it?" "Wait a minute." We sat in silence while he talked to someone on the phone. "Okay, you can go upstairs and an officer will lead you past the fire trucks." Donna looked at me as she stepped out of the Hummer. "Now you can go home? I'll be okay. Thanks for the help." I simply nodded at her. When she was out of sight, I followed her. It was easy because of all the commotion. When she got to the top, the guy she was with on the trail walked up to her, waving his arms. Of course, I didn't hear anything, but it was clear that she was trying her best to calm him down. They argued for about 10 minutes, and then he walked up to the fire chief and said something. When he and Donna got into the Volvo, I hurried back to the Hummer. It would take them a while to get all the fire trucks and hoses up and running, but I still had to hurry. As I drove out, I saw a Volvo turning the corner. I drove home, but immediately left in the Honda. I went to Emily. I had to apologize for being late, and she insisted that I tell her everything. She seemed interested, although I toned down the story a little. Josh and Terry were happy to see me and happily ordered pizza for dinner. We spent a couple of hours getting things out of the basement for the yard sale. The guys worked tirelessly and did not complain about anything. I wanted them to be mine. I asked Emily to take me home around 9 and left the bike with her. Donna returned home late. I didn't ask where she was. Early the next morning, while Donna was taking a shower, I removed the SIM chip from her mobile phone. I went to the cell phone office and terminated her service and paid a $200 cancellation fee. At the end of the day, landlines will be turned off, as will DSL and cable television. I notified the landlord that I was moving out and mentioned that my wife could stay and that he should contact her about a new lease. Water and electricity will be turned off at the end of the week. It only took a few minutes to load my things into the Hummer, and I was on my way to the apartment Marge had found. Marge left a note saying, "Detective Green asked me to call him." I went down to the station and found his office. So, Mr. Powers, you're still alive? And what is this supposed to mean?" Felix Green laughed softly. He seemed to enjoy my dilemma. "Do you know a man named Bobby Terrell?" I can honestly say that I have never met this man. I put my hand in my pocket and handed him the Ford registration number. He looked at the form and said, "Very interesting." We both laughed. "Mr. Terrell and your wife have been talking on the phone a lot lately. She called him 6 times and he called him 4 times in the last week. In addition, 3 days ago, she withdrew $12,000 from her savings account. Bobby Terrell is an ex-con who makes a living by killing people. We kind of followed him and were surprised when we noticed this connection. Is there any particular reason why your wife wants you dead, Mr. Powers?" That was until yesterday morning, when I canceled a $1 million life insurance policy. She doesn't know about this? No. Bobby is good at what he does, and I'm impressed with how you handled it. I'm guessing he's already been paid, but I don't know if he'll try to honor the contract since he lost his truck. I just wanted to let you know that he and I spoke. I told him that if anything happens to you in the near future, I will take him away immediately. We also recommended that he take some time off. However, I'm not sure this will discourage your wife. I moved out of the house. I don't know what else I can do." Felix leaned back in his chair. "I think you're not telling me something, Brian. All parts do not fit together. Just be careful." I immediately went to Emily. She agreed to go to lunch, and I was glad she liked sushi. I tried to explain to her what was happening, but it was too cryptic. There was so much I wanted to tell her, but I couldn't. From time to time, she would throw puzzled glances at me, and instead of explaining, I would change the subject. It was a long lunch. That evening, she had no difficulty in persuading me to come to dinner. I apologized to her for the utter nonsense, but she just laughed. I felt comfortable with her. The next morning, I decided I was ready to get back to work. Last night, I had a good time with Josh and Terry. Emily and I had been planning a big weekend together, and I was looking forward to it. It's funny, I didn't miss Donna at all. I was actually relieved that I wouldn't have to face her anymore. It was only a short drive to work, and I pulled out of the Hummer with a big smile on my face. Things were going well. The big monster quickly picked up speed, but as I started going down the first hill, I noticed something strange. The brakes didn't respond at all. I've seen movies where this happened, and I always thought how stupid the drivers were because they couldn't stop the car. The Hummer was going faster. I calmly grabbed the gear lever and shifted it from drive to low. This caused the bolt to roll and release, but it continued to gain speed. I was approaching traffic and multiple intersections. Now I was going much faster. On the left side was a cemetery with a grassy mound extending up from the street. I turned and simultaneously pressed the handbrake. The Hummer spun 180 degrees and flipped over. Everything went dark. There was no pain. The second time I woke up in a hospital room. I heard myself groan and felt some movement around me. At that same moment, the nurse looked into my eyes, and then there was even more commotion in the room. Now there was pain, a lot of pain. I was glad that I was getting attention, but at the same time, I wanted everyone to leave me alone. How confusing. Finally, it turned out that someone tall had arrived, a qualified doctor, as I had assumed. I hardly opened my eyes and looked around the room. White coats flashed around, but Emily was sitting on the edge of the bed. I felt better. There was a lot of tweaking and testing, and suddenly I fell asleep. The next time I woke up, everything was quiet. I tried not to make any noise because I wanted to avoid the commotion. I slowly opened my eyes and looked outside. It was night, and everything was relatively calm. There was no one in the room except Emily, who was sleeping in a chair by the bed. My whole body ached. I turned my head to Emily. "Hey, are you awake?" She looked up and smiled. "No, I sleep soundly and dream. Thank you for coming." "No problem." I closed my eyes and fell asleep again. When morning came, I woke up normally, but the pain continued. There was a whole medical team in the room, but Emily was not there. I didn't expect to see her at all. The doctors were full of questions. "Does it hurt? Does it hurt? Can you see it?" I answered all their questions. I asked about Donna. She showed up at the hospital to sign admission forms, but has not been seen since. I was in the hospital for 2 days before I woke up. Emily was there every day. Felix Green checked on my condition daily. I had a concussion, a broken collarbone, a broken left arm, and 3 broken ribs. There were various internal injuries, but nothing life-threatening. What bothered them most was that I had been unconscious for 2 days. I was damn hungry, and finally someone brought me soup. I was able to eat and drink some ginger ale. Felix appeared a little later. "I thought you were watching my back." "Sorry, we didn't notice that." "Do you have any idea what happened?" "Well, someone cut all the brake lines on the Hummer and then disconnected the airbags, front and side. You went through the windshield and your seat belt broke 3 of your ribs. It's good that nothing caught fire. The bad thing is that the Hummer is broken." "Damn it, I didn't like him anyway. I just bought it to spite Donna." "Speaking of your wife, do you know where she is?" "I haven't seen her since the accident." "They said she signed the admission forms here at the hospital. How did she decide to do this?" "I went and picked her up. This didn't make her too happy." After signing all the papers, the uniformed officer took her home. I asked if she wanted to see you, and she said there was no need. "Well, it looks like you saw her after me. Has she left town?" "We came and looked at everything. There was a lot of money in the purse, almost $8,000. She left behind her driver's license, credit cards, and all her personal belongings. I don't think she left town empty-handed. We just think she's missing." "Any idea who damaged the Hummer?" "We have no idea." "Bobby Terrell?" "Believe it or not, Bobby Terrell was in a hospital in Philadelphia. It looks like he was captured by a couple of thugs and taken to Philadelphia. They explained to him that they didn't want anything to happen to you. Who do you know in Philadelphia, Brian?" "Crap. Felix, I don't know anyone in Philadelphia, honestly. I have no idea who you're talking about." "I believe you. Listen, I have to run. If you need anything, let me know." After Felix left, Emily came in. "Hello?" The doctor said that you can go out tomorrow if you have somewhere to go. I told him that you would come to me. One of the nurses gave me instructions so I know how to take care of you. I can change your bandages and stuff. The nurse will come once a day to see how things are going, and the doctor will see you in a week. Okay? Sounds good to me. Who will give me a sponge bath, you or the visiting nurse? I think it's your choice. At least both my legs were working. I could go to the bathroom alone, sit down and eat at the table like a normal person. The painkiller made me nauseous, so I tried to wean myself off it as quickly as possible. Emily and the boys were delighted. I enjoyed my recovery. We didn't go outside for the first week, and then I told her to drive up to the old house. The owner was there, and he was eager to talk. He hadn't heard anything about Donna and wanted to know what to do about renting a house. Our things and her things were there. He needed them removed so he could rent out the house. We agreed in such a way that it suited both of us. Marge came to visit me at Emily's house. She visited the hospital every day and knew Emily quite well. Looks like they hit it off. I was planning on going back to work, but I wanted to stay with Emily and the boys a little longer. I recovered quite well. I stayed with Emily and the boys. After about 3 months, the relationship changed from platonic to romantic. I moved into the bedroom without much fanfare. Josh and Terry seemed to think it was natural. We went to social events together. I even started going to parent-teacher conferences. The only problem was that we weren't married. I was married to Donna. I contacted Felix regularly, but he had no news. I ended up going to court to have her declared legally dead so I could marry Emily. I took her to a small romantic Italian restaurant. After a good bottle of wine and a great meal, I was ready. Emily, I know it hasn't been that long for either of us, but I seriously believe that I would like to spend the rest of my life with you. Are you thinking about getting married? Is this a hypothetical question or are you making a proposal? I'm making an offer. Will you marry me? Yes, but we have one small problem. What exactly? You should meet my family in Philadelphia. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.